Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. I often say that reconciliation is not an event, but a process. It's not usually the case that you and your adult child have a heart-to-heart, and then contact resumes and things are better from then on. More often, there are specific stages of learning and growth to go through before you can trust that your relationship is on solid ground. Until then, it's not uncommon for there to be periods of more and less contact, periods of positive communication and periods of more troubled communication or silence. In other words, reconciliation can feel like a dance of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's not a purely joyous or satisfying experience for many. Most parents of estranged adult children have to go through the 4 stages of learning in order to eventually get to where they want to be in their relationship with their child. Now, it's not exactly clear who originated the 4 stages that I'm going to talk about today, but they started to appear in psychology and coaching in the 1960s. These stages describe a process that anyone learning a new skill goes through on their way to mastery. I talk about these in my book, Reconnecting with Your Estranged Adult Child, but I'm going to introduce you to them today so that you can think about where you currently are and hopefully feel a bit more confident that you're on the right track. From talking with hundreds of parents and adult children about their estrangements, I've come to the conclusion that reconciling requires specific learning on the part of the parent. Why do I say on the part of the parent and not on both parts? Because you're the captain of the ship. As the parent and as the person who is most motivated to repair the relationship, you get to be the initiator and leader of the process. For this episode, I'm going to assume that your child has specific reasons for his or her estrangement, apart from simply needing time apart to grow up. Before reconciliation, you may know that there's a problem of some sort in the relationship between you and your child, but you find yourself feeling confused, hurt, and bewildered by the distance they insist on keeping. You may have no idea why your child would take such a drastic step as to cut you off the way they have. This is the very first stage of learning, known as unconscious incompetence. It doesn't sound very flattering, I know. But all unconscious incompetence means is that we don't know what we don't know. Before you learn to ride a bicycle, for example, the unconscious incompetence stage is when you have no idea what's involved. You see all these other people riding their bikes around, and you're not even aware that they're actually balancing and steering and using brakes to slow down. Unconscious incompetence in estrangement means there's something your child understands about your relationship that you don't know yet. The task of the unconscious incompetence stage when trying to reconcile with your child is to try to find out as much as you can about what you don't yet understand. This is a task that you might be pretty ambivalent about pursuing. It might seem like you're picking at a scab by asking yourself, what might I be bringing to the relationship that creates enough pain in my child that they would rather not engage? Remember that it's perfectly possible to be a good, well-meaning person and still harm someone without realizing it. It's easy for parents to forget this and hold themselves to impossible standards. But really, nobody gets parenting perfectly right, ever. Being open to how things have gone wrong and continue to go wrong from the point of view of your child is not the same as saying, I'm a horrible parent. If you don't know this in your bones, you may be tempted to stay in this stage of unconscious incompetence because it hurts less than digging for information. But that is a stage that doesn't favor reconciliation, certainly not permanent reconciliation. So if you find yourself in the unconscious incompetence stage in relating to your child, your main job is to learn why your child feels hurt or disappointed or angry or whatever. You can disagree with your child's assessment of the way things are, but you can't change the way they feel simply by disagreeing. Once you have some idea of what causes the problems between you, you move into the next stage of learning, which is called conscious incompetence. This is where you might find yourself when you're attempting to reconcile and you feel like everything you say and do only makes things worse. In learning to ride a bike, conscious incompetence is when you get on the bike for the first time and you keep falling off. You're suddenly aware that you don't yet have all the skills necessary for riding a bike smoothly. Your steering is jerky, your balance is very uncertain, and so on. In your relationship with your child, maybe you know that, for example, giving unwanted advice really bothers him, and yet you find yourself still doing it. The behavior has become a habit, it's automatic, and so you're really not sure how to change it. And now that you know that this particular behavior, whatever it might be, creates problems between you and your child, you're consciously aware of every time you shoot yourself in the foot. This is why this second stage is called conscious incompetence. You can see it happening, but you can't stop it. You can envision what needs to happen to make things better, but you haven't yet developed the skills and habits to make those things happen. Now, this is a really painful place to be, to see what's going wrong in real time and not be able to do anything about it. But conscious incompetence is an unavoidable part of learning. Don't worry that you'll be stuck in this stage forever. You won't. If you keep an open mind and a heart full of self-compassion, and you adopt the humble attitude of a lifelong learner, you will move into the next stage of learning in which you'll feel and actually be more skilled. After the pain and awkwardness of conscious incompetence, you graduate to the third, penultimate stage of learning, which is conscious competence. You can think of conscious competence as the classic walking on eggshells phase. Actually, you might feel like you're walking on eggshells throughout these first three stages. It's only when you get to the final stage that comes to an end. So don't look for a quick resolution to that walking on eggshells feeling during or even after reconciling with your child. It's a natural part of the process of learning and growing. It's unpleasant, but it doesn't mean anything is wrong. In this third stage of conscious competence, you know what to do, but you have to be vigilant at all times in order to make sure that you're doing it. This is the stage where you can ride the bike, but only if you concentrate hard on balancing and you watch your steering and remember your brakes. You wouldn't be able to take a bike ride and just let your mind wander when you're still in the conscious competence stage. Conscious competence can be exhausting for reconciled parents, so be sure to give yourself breaks. Don't go out of your way to spend long stretches of time with your newly reconciled child. Instead, treat each contact period as a practice drill during which you consciously use your new skills. If you end up spending, say, a whole weekend together soon after you reconcile, try to spend some time apart so that you can relax and recharge your own batteries. Your child may appreciate the break too because she's still getting used to being back in touch as well. Whether you're riding a bike or playing the violin or establishing a better functioning relationship with your child, the key to all mastery is practice. So don't try to hurry through the conscious competence stage. I mean, you wouldn't be able to anyway, but just remind yourself that everything worth doing takes years of practice to really master. Eventually, with enough time and practice under your belt, you will reach the fourth and final stage of learning, which is called unconscious competence. If you've reached unconscious competence in riding your bicycle, you can ride without thinking about your hands on the steering wheel or your feet on the pedals. You can just watch the world go by. You can daydream. You can even listen to a podcast about estrangement while you ride your bike. Once you've mastered the skills of maintaining a new kind of relationship with your child, complete with its different rules maybe than before, your new relationship will no longer require your intense focus. You'll know how to navigate it. You won't feel very often caught off guard, and you'll be used to things the new way, not the way they used to be. You'll become as attached to the adult your child has become as you were to the child you raised. This is the ultimate stage of unconscious competence with your adult child. I hope it's clear that reconciliation is a learning process from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence to the reward of unconscious competence. Be patient with yourself and with your journey through these 4 inevitable stages of learning. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out ReconnectionClub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at ReconnectionClub.com.